Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our entitled people. In today's episode, sister cusses out my daughter at her wedding. No, I'm not going to commit fraud for you. My stepfather is pissing me off mightily. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Sister cusses out my daughter at her wedding. So my daughter, we'll call her T, came over to the house to do some laundry and she was asking what the hell is Aunt Liz's problem? I asked what she meant and she explained how my sister had posted on Facebook that she and her husband were going away for their 15th wedding anniversary. T said that she had sent Aunt Liz a congrats post and Liz responded back with very funny. So I sat her down and I told her what I'm about to tell you. When T was 4, Liz had called us and said that she was getting married in a few months. She and I were doing the typical girly squee sounds and oh that's wonderful stuff that sisters usually do. When we calmed down, she asked if T would be willing to be the flower girl. I asked her and she said yes, enchanted Imma be flower girl, and started running around and pretend flying like she was a new member of the Justice League or something. I told Liz we need to work on it, but she's in. About a month later, the invites came in. In them it was stated that Liz did not want any children under the age of 17 there and explained why. The reasons were sound: bored children, potential disruptions, etc., so I understood them. I did, however, have one concern. I called her and asked, hey, just got the invites, me and the boys will be there but Hubs has a business trip that month and can't make it. Do you still want T as your flower girl? Liz replied, oh god yes. She's too cute to not have her. I shrugged and said, well it'll be the 4 of us, consider this your RSVP. She said great. See you there. We hung up and I went online and made the reservations. A room for me and T, and an adjoining room for the boys, Ron, 19, and Carl, 17. Names changed and all that. Fast forward to the weekend of the wedding. The venue is a 6-hour drive for me and I had to get out there on a Friday for the Saturday wedding. Since I had to wait for Carl to get out of school, we got a late start on Friday and we got there around 10 p.m. I got out and checked into the hotel room and I texted Liz. They were still at the venue and would be there at least another hour or two taking care of details, so we drove over. We got there and it was the usual pre-wedding chaos. Liz was getting things to her liking and honestly going a bit bridezilla. She saw us first, beamed and came over. However, when she got closer and saw who was in my party, she blew up. Why did you bring her? She screamed. I said, but you wanted her for. I was cut off and Liz went into a complete screaming meltdown about how this was her day, she didn't want children there and how dare you bring a child to my wedding, while looking right at T, and then stormed off screeching curses into the night. I was done. T was crying and saying, but I wanted to be flower girl, in between sobs, and Ron and Carl looked like they wanted to kill their aunt, and at that moment I wasn't sure I wanted to stop them. I picked up T and tried to comfort her and herded the crew back to the car and we drove back to the hotel. I was seriously considering just packing up the car and heading home. I told the boys that and Ron was being the level-headed one. Mom, it's a 6-hour drive and we're all too tired and pissed to make that drive right now. We'd get in around 5 to 6 in the morning depending on rest stops and bathroom breaks. Do you really want to do that since we have a nice hotel room for the night? How about we go back to the hotel, get a night's sleep and head back in the morning? I grudgingly admitted that he had a point. Carl piped up, Mom, I've got another idea. I was waspish and I kinda snapped, what is it? Carl looked up from his phone and sheepishly said, well, T's pretty upset. Which was true. It's been 15 minutes and she's still sobbing I wanna be flower girl over and over in the back seat. Carl continued, there's a county fair that just started tonight. Carnival rides, petting zoo, games, that sort of thing. I snapped, so? Carl is made of sterner stuff. He didn't wither under my anger and continued on. We have the hotel until Sunday morning. Why not spend the night here, go to the fair tomorrow and then go home on Sunday like we planned. Give T something to think about other than Aunt Liz's freakout, let her have some fun, and we all could use a mom and the gang outing right about now. I calmed down a bit and said an idea not without merit. I looked at T in the rear view and said, what about it, T? You want to go to the fair instead of the wedding? She sobbed, I want to be flower girl. Carl piped up, they're going to have cotton candy and deep-fried Oreos. The crying stopped, there was one last sniffle and an exhausted but determined I want to go to the fair. So that's what we did and we had fun. Liz could have her bridezilla day and that was that. Except that it wasn't. We had all turned our phones off since we knew some calls would be coming in and we just could not be bothered to deal with it. When we got back to the hotel, my mom and dad were there. They lit into me about how T was supposed to be there as flower girl and we just blew my sister and her special day off. Mom, Dad. I said. You know how the invite said no children? I called Liz when we got ours and I asked if she still wanted T as a flower girl. She said that she did. So I brought T to the venue last night and Liz flipped out about how dare I bring a child to her special day. Carl, bless his I can't function without an iPhone in his hand, heart pulled up the video. I didn't know he had recorded it, but he was able to catch the final, how dare you bring a child to my wedding. I lit into them back. So if T's supposed to be there as flower girl but not be there because she's a child, how am I supposed to pull that off? We went to the fair to calm T down and so she'd have something happy to remember and hopefully forget that Liz cussed her out. 2. Horror. Face. Mom and Dad went quiet then apologized. They said that they were going to have a word with Liz when she got back from the honeymoon and then had a nice chat with T about the things she saw and did. We drove home Sunday morning and that was that. Story over, back in the present. T was blown away. Mom, would I be a bad person for unfriending her and blocking her? I said no and we went back to enjoying some mom and daughter time. Your sister is a crazy one. Did she expect your daughter to only be there specifically for the couple minutes of going down the aisle as the flower girl? Update, I apologize to everyone. A lot of people were telling me that it couldn't have been on an iPhone, so I went into my hard drive and looked for the video and pics he took that night. I looked at the tagging information. Fujifilm FinePix F50 FD. My old camera. I must have given it to him to take pics. As to the aftermath, I'll let you know later tonight when I'm off work, I promise. How did the follow-up go with your sister when she got back? Feel like I'm missing that part. Absolutely this. Feels like we're missing a lot of the story that happened afterwards. And this why you don't ask little kids to be at your child-free wedding. You get stressed, you forget, and then you have no flower girl. Yes, T, you can block your aunt and forget all about her. What is Liz's problem? To have not mentioned it for 15 years I would assume as I'm Liz that T forgot, but then why hell would Liz make that reply to T good wishes? Why would she cuss T out and still expect her to be flower girl? I don't understand any of Liz's moves. No, I'm not going to commit fraud for you. Years ago, I worked in an adult education center. We offered classes to help people graduate high school, both GED, which were basically like teacher-guided study groups to help prepare for the official GED exam, and also for credit classes, usually taken by people who had dropped out close to graduating and wanted to continue a course transcript. Well, one day a young man around 20 comes in. He tells me he wants to sign up for the credit diploma program, as he had dropped out senior year and was only missing like 2 classes. Great! I got him going on the preliminary paperwork. Suddenly he looked at me and frowned. Since I did most of high school at our city high and it's just this little bit at adult ed, my diploma can say it's from our city high, right? Well, no, sorry. But high school diplomas are awarded from whatever school or program you're in at the actual time of completion. The young man is clearly unhappy to hear this. He starts trying to argue with me that since our night classes are actually held at the regular city high school, just after regular hours, his diploma should totally just read that it was obtained from that high school, no details necessary. Again, I told him sorry, but it just doesn't work that way. The physical location of the classes doesn't matter, just the official school or program name. And yes, the powers that be do choose to include the details as to whether you went to a regular high school or an adult education program. It's not up to us, but federal guidelines we're following. The guy is still upset at hearing this, but he seems to have accepted it. So he tries going down a different track. Okay, so if you have to say adult education program on it, can you at least write it out to say I graduated 2 years ago? Honestly, my jaw literally fell. On what planet do you just mosey into a school office and casually ask the employees to commit fraud on your behalf? It was really and truly one of the most WTF moments of my entire 4 decades of living. No. I finally managed to splutter. No one here is going to risk going to prison because you want counterfeit documents. After a few moments when I'd collected myself a bit, I was finally able to extract the full story. Apparently our young friend had applied for a job he really wanted, and of course the employer inquired about high school. He lied, not only telling the company that he had one, but also that he had earned it in a regular high school program at the regular age. Now he was in a panic, desperate to produce the necessary documents before his interview, which was like the next day. Look, I totally understand the concept of being young and doing something stupid, then freaking out as you try to fix it. But the key word there is you. You don't try to lasso random school officials into doing it for you, much less when it involves federal fraud. It's been about 15 years now. I wonder what happened to this guy, as well as a number of other characters I met while in that place. My job has a policy of drugs and alcohol testing after any accident that has to be reported. I once had to test a guy who had a minor accident on a forklift. When I walked him to the restroom to get a sample, he tried to hand the cup back to me and expected me to do it for him. He said he would fail and it would be better for the place to not lose him as an employee since he was so good at his job. Apparently he and this guy were related, lol. My stepfather is pissing me off mightily. This isn't as big of a deal as most, but I am getting angrier and angrier with passing time. My mother married my her sister, best friend about 18 years ago. He's one of those nice guys, with no common sense, and my mom hates to not be in a relationship. My aunt is no longer close with my stepfather, and I understand why. He has done dumb, thoughtless things all along, and even had the good luck to win $1 million in the lottery about 20 years ago and promptly pissed it all away on stupid shit. He then married my mother 2 years later, and has ran through her pension and savings. He cleaned out his government pension when he had money because he thought he could invest it, and now doesn't have a pot to pee in. My mother worked a very good job for a very prestigious company and had great investments and savings before they got married. My mother bought him a car with cash, bought their house, pays all the bills, drained her savings so he could have some ungodly expensive health insurance until they aged onto Medicare, and does all the cooking and cleaning because he breaks or spoils everything via weaponized incompetence. He has no income, and the tiny bit of social security he gets is because he's married to my mom and gets a little from her. He promptly spends that on things he wants, like football season tickets. He didn't even get my mother a birthday present this year. On my mother's birthday, he was going to the dollar store for something stupid, and she asked him to get her a case of caffeine-free root beer and joked it could be her birthday present from him. He came back with loads of things he wanted and forgot that simple request. Didn't take her out to dinner or anything. When I dropped off my mother's present that evening, a large Amazon package arrived for him, and I told my mom that it better be her present. Spoiler, it was not. I kind of went off on him after that. He still didn't get her anything. If I give my mother anything, he sticks his nose in it, and if it's something he is interested in, he makes sure he gets as much of it as he can, even if he has his own. For example, my husband and I just got back from a vacation to the UK last week. I took over souvenirs last night. I made sire I got them the same number of items, and brought back some local West Country cider for him because he likes beers and ciders. I brought back a very tiny nip bottle of cherry brandy for mom because she loves fancy liqueurs, but very seldom drinks due to having stage 0 breast cancer a few years ago. He was holding 5 or 6 things that I bought specifically for him, that he likes, but was zoomed in on that tiny bottle of cherry brandy. After we left, my mom went to the bathroom, and when she came out, he had opened and drank half that bottle. I am livid. This is intentionally malicious behavior, and he plays so nicey nice, using my mom's money to give loads at church, or to homeless people on the street. The last bit of my mom's investments were just drained last year so he could have a season football pass as a birthday present. He accidentally breaks things my mom is interested in that don't interest him, and I almost swear he was taking my mom out in the woods to leave her there this summer. Long story, said they were going on a birdwatching hike but my mom refused to leave the car. My mom is a trusting and naive soul, and I'm getting antsy watching this worsen. He plays the bumbling idiot and gets away with it a lot. I let it pass in the past because he played the part well, but it's more and more obvious as time goes on. They now have so little money, my sister is giving mom money. I will buy groceries and things for the house, but I won't give money because he will somehow have it. I hope he dies before my mom, because if she goes first, I'm cutting him off immediately. My sister is kind of aware, but she's in an abusive marriage herself and doesn't think he's that bad, even though she admits he's an entitled opportunist. If he doesn't get my mom a present for Christmas, I'm not sure what I'll do. Just had to let that out. Sorry for the book. Start an escape fund for your mom and an account he doesn't know about and can't touch. That is a really good idea. You should get your mom some freedom for the bestest birthday gift. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.